Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Mountain Blade II Bannerlord. Now, today we're going to be doing a updated trade guide. Now, I don't think since the last time I did this, the game hasn't changed too much in terms of trading, but there have been quite a few patches, and I just thought I'd make a shorter and better quality version of this video because I know you guys have had a few issues with my last one. So I'm going to try and pinpoint the key parts of it and just break it down, make it a lot shorter, and just cover it a lot better and easier if I can, whilst also improving the general quality of the video. So first off, I've just created a new character, sandbox mode, made him Azurai, and got him to level 40 trade with just picking certain perks and abilities. I've not picked the first perk yet because I'm going to show you guys what it's like before you get that, and then I'm going to show you guys how it operates after you've gotten that. But the first aspect of trade that you want to sort of have a go at is what materials you're going to be looking at trading. So when it comes to the first two perks, you can either go down the route of basically buying and selling horses or equipment, or you can start selling raw materials like leather, fur, and those sorts of things like these. So you've got your general food, which you can trade with, but you won't ever make much of a profit because food's constantly meeting supply and demand, and everyone's buying it constantly, so it kind of stays at a price no matter where you are. Food doesn't really change a lot. You don't make much of a profit on it, and it's not something that you should really consider trading that much because you can't really do a whole lot with it. I'm just going to buy some fish there. But basically what you want to look at initially is decide what you want to trade. You've got your normal just raw materials here, and as you go down you can gradually see that the price kind of changes, and you go from about 20 to 30 dinars to the sort of 80 to 100 range, and then you'll get your luxury goods, but there aren't very many of them, but the cost of them are very high. You've got jewelry here for 509, so that's like your incredible luxury items. And as you can see when you start off in the game, I don't know if you can see out there, just where it has the price on the actual image of the item, it's in red. Now when you get the first perk, this becomes a lot clearer, but if it's in red there, then it's essentially saying this is a high price to pay for this item. It's just kind of a little guide. It's very subtle and it's not giving you any information about it, but it's just there. So you can get to grips straight away without having any perks and abilities, and it kind of gives you an idea of the price of something if you haven't been anywhere else. But as you can see, most of the other items are just neutral in colour. Now, because I haven't gone to any other towns yet, nothing is it's not gonna give me any information. It's not gonna tell me yet that this is cheaper to buy here, or this is cheaper to get here or where. So what we're gonna do is if we just take, for example, if we just take some of the some hides. They're quite a high price to pay for hides, but just to get you an idea of this. And before I move off and skip to the next settlement, I'm probably gonna hit a few just to give you an idea of how it shows you the different levels of price you'll pay. So I'll probably go to a few of the towns around the Azurai Empire just so I can get some information. But essentially how it works is every time you pop into a town or a settlement, it will automatically gather information for you. So as soon as you go into the market, it should, doesn't always, but most of the time it will tell you the sort of price range you're looking at, and it will say it's either cheaper to buy here or cheaper to buy here, or it will say, oh, this is a really good item, you should go and sell this here, or you should go and sell that there. But I'll show you that in a moment. But just before we move off, I'm just going to mention this one thing. If you are going to get into trading, you want to have a look at your inventory capacity up here. And having troops, I've only got a couple just so I tried not to get attacked, but as you can see, troops makes a huge difference there. So if you have cavalrymen, generally you can take more stuff, but if you have a lot of infantry, then that boosts your overall capacity. But one of the best ways of doing it is just to get yourselves some mules or sumpter horses here. And that will really just make a difference. And you can actually see in the middle, in between where it has the two people and the meat, I'll try and highlight it after this video, but it has like just a little symbol which basically means that it's a carry weight horse. So if you buy that, it will increase your carrying capacity. I don't know if you can see the difference there on the desert horse, but the item, that symbol is removed, saying this is a war horse, not a basically not a trading horse, not a caravan horse. But yeah, these are quite expensive prices to pay, and mules are actually really good for trade. And I will say, just a quick hint, if you buy very cheap mules in the Empire, you can get them unbelievably cheap for about 40 dinars to ranging about maybe 70, 80 dinars. And you go into Valandia, you can sell them for about 200. That's just one little tip for you guys there. Most settlements in Valandia don't have many horses or mules at all. Most of them have none at all. So if you can get really cheap mules anywhere else, or sumpter horses, go and sell them in Valandia. You'll make a lot of money. Trust me on that one. It works every time. But yeah, if we just go ahead and grab some mules, as you can see, our pack animals there has increased it by 200. So each of these guys is worth 100 carry weight. And not that I can afford it, but if I add that, as you can see, spare mounts, it just gives me plus 20. So you have to pick the right ones. Now we're going to be paying a decent amount of money there, so I'll probably just take a mule, and that'll be it. Actually, some horse is cheaper. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to pay that, and we've got our little supplies there, which we're going to take off to the next settlement. So I'm going to meet you guys there, and we'll get on with the video. So see you guys in a second. Okay, guys. So we've travelled across the map a little bit. We've went into the town of Sonala here, and then we came straight down into Calradia. Now, if you guys can remember what we paid for the hides, so we paid about 90 dinars for these things. I think it was between 80 to 90 dinars, and if we sold them at Sonala, we would have made 50 dinars. However, coming to Calradia, they're now worth 144. Now, that's probably because they don't have much here. And in fact, they have none. So that's why it's worth so much. So even though we bought it at a really high price, and there you go, as well as you can see, it says that you can buy this at Calradia for 87, or you can buy it at Sonala for 61. Now, those are the two towns I've just visited, so that's what I meant by it feeding you that information. So the more towns you visit, it does go away after a while, after it's been a certain amount of time, because obviously the market is constantly changing. I'm not sure exactly how many in-game days it takes for that information to fade. I'd probably say maybe it's about a week in game, and then that information will disappear. So you can build up quite a lot of towns and information there, and you can get an idea, because the price doesn't change too much. So if you go back there, it will be roughly the same. But aspects that can change it and alternate it are things like caravans and villagers coming in to sell their supplies. So certain caravans might come in, and then they might offload a crap ton of hides and just change the price around a lot. But generally, it will stay roughly the same. Just because we can sell these hides here now for 144 doesn't mean that if we go back and buy them cheap and come back again, that they'll be as expensive, because somebody else might also identify that they're cheap here, and a caravan might come along and sell them all off. So we got quite lucky, and we can sell them for a lot of money here. As you can see, they did drop down quite a lot every time we sold them. That's because it's quite a high luxury item. Now, if you get things like jewellery, you'll probably only be able to sell one for a high price, and then they will really drop off. But as you can see with the jewellery, we can already identify there that it's telling us if we buy that for 357, we can sell it for 431. So we can make near enough 100 dinars profit off that if we bought one and went off and sold it at Calradia. But anyway, so we've sold that off. We're going to make 406, and if we press done, we didn't get any trade experience. It's probably because mine's quite high already, but that would have been 0, and it's gone up to 763 just from that. Just from those 4 items or 3 items, I can't remember how many I had. So yeah, automatically we've just got a massive chunk of experience. So the more we could buy and the more we can sell, obviously the quicker that's going to go up. And obviously if we increase the amount of focus points we have into social skills and into the trading skill tree itself. So we've kind of covered that. I'll do a little bit more, but what I'm going to jump into now is we're going to go ahead and look at these perks. So like I said before, we have the two. We have Appraiser and we have Wholesaler. Now, both of them are going to decrease the sell price penalty for the goods of which we choose. So it's either going to be equipments. So if you're constantly going to be worrying, not too worried about actually going out and having your own kind of caravan and trading, then you might want to pick the equipments one, because that means whenever you defeat somebody and go and sell their equipment that you've looted, you're going to make a lot more money from selling that equipment than you would if you didn't have that perk. You can also trade equipment. You can buy equipment from somewhere if you think it's cheap and go and sell it somewhere else, and this perk will tell you, it will highlight it in green and red whether or not it's a good price and whether or not you're going to make a profit on it. But because we're going to be basically focusing on trading, we're going to pick the trade goods, because that's what we're going to be having a look at. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pick Wholesaler, and you guys are going to see how much easier trading becomes once you've picked up this perk. So yeah, we've picked that now. We're going to go back, and now we're going to go back into the trade tab. We're going to go on here, and it's not going to do anything for us yet because we need to go to the next place. But we can get an idea, because we've got this basic information here. We can have an idea of what we might make a profit on. So we could have a look at, like I said, with these items that are a lot cheaper to buy, they're a lot harder to make a profit on. But obviously, if you're don't have too much money, then it's quite a quick way of getting a lot of stuff together to go and sell, but you won't make a huge amount of profit on. Whereas you've got these items which are going to be a lot more expensive and a lot of higher risk. It might take you a much longer time to find somewhere that will pay you more for what you've paid for these. So for example, if we did go and buy leather or fur or jewelry, what most likely would happen is we'd have to enter completely separate kingdoms. So I might have to go with the fur all the way up to the Khuzait Khanate to actually sell it off. Probably not the case, but that's sort of more the idea towards the higher end items. You have to travel a lot further to make a profit, and that's sort of how it works. So you'll be paying off a lot of your men as well at the same time. So you've got to weigh up what's actually worth it. And probably the best way to form your own caravan is to get items from all these different segments. So you want to start off by buying all the really cheap items, get a whole load of those together so that you know if you're going to be traveling maybe half the map away to sell off that 300 jewelry that you might make 600 dinars off in profit. What you can do is stop off at a load of different towns along the way and sell off the cheaper items to keep yourself going and to keep profits coming in and improve your trade skill until you eventually get to the point where you can then sell off the jewelry, because that's your ultimate goal. You're just going to hit places on the way to get to where you're going to sell the high-end goods. So that's probably the best way you want to form it, is just to have a mix of different items. But yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to buy some of these items. So we know if we head back to Sinala, we might make about 40 dinars profit on these linens. Now every time we purchase one, it is going to go in price, and we have to bear in mind that every time we sell one, it's going to be the same situation. So we're going to go for 4 and just get an idea of what that's going to do. So it's going to cost us 456, and hopefully we can turn a profit on that. So we're going to go ahead and buy them, and then we're going to head back. Now what you have to bear in mind as well is just because it's said that we're going to make a profit doesn't mean that we will. So by the time we get there, in the time that we're taking to travel to here, it might have been hit by 10 caravans, and that price has gone completely out the window because all of a sudden somebody's just pumped in a crap load of linens into that town. So you it is a huge risk that you have to take. So sometimes it's better to get an idea of a few towns you want to visit. So if it said you could sell this for a lot of money in Sinala, Kiaz, and maybe Ortizia, you say, okay, so I'll go to the most expensive one first. And if you get there and it's changed and you're not going to make a profit anymore, at least you know there's 2 other places quite close by that you can visit and still potentially make a profit on that. So I'd say only kind of go for the items where you know you can sell it for a higher price in more than one town at least. So I'd go for 2, 3 at the least, you know you're going to make a profit on it, because if you get there and you're no longer going to make a profit on it, at least you can then move on and go somewhere else that you know you can. And like I said, you want to also make sure you don't have too many men. I'd say you kind of, when you start the game, you're allowed about 20 men, aren't you? That's your sort of starting limit. I'd say that's a perfect amount for a caravan. You don't want to upgrade them too much either, because then your costs of your party are going to probably outweigh your profits. You might have to cover lots of distance, especially starting here in the Azerai territory. We're going to have to cover a lot of distance to get to each town to sell our items. So you want to keep your party generally quite small and generally quite lower tier as well. So enemies won't really attack you if you're about 20 men strong. Maybe make them tier 2s and 3s at a push, you know, a couple of archers, a couple of swordsmen. Most bandits and loose parties won't attack you unless they're absolutely enormous or unless there's loads of them around. But you've got to keep your costs as low as possible, and just keep trading until you can sort of get to a point you can buy a workshop and a caravan, and then you can, once you have that passive income, then you can start to look at improving your party and really start to maybe, you know, push out, have some other parties, or start pushing into caravans and having other costs. But initially, I'd say 20 men maximum, perfect. But if you're going to have 20 men, keep them low tier so your costs aren't outweighing your profits. Anyway, we've come into Sinala here, so we're going to have a look, and here we go. So it's also going to highlight mules. I know it says trade goods, but horses technically count along that line as well. So we could sell that mule and make, I think, about 100 dinars profit. Maybe not that much, maybe it's more like 70, 80, but quite a significant amount of profit. And as you can see, we have 3 different color shades here as well. So that's quite a dark green, signifying that we're going to make a big profit on it. Whereas that's more of a light green. It's quite close to the neutral color, meaning we're going to make a profit on it, but it's not that much. And we could make a higher profit if we sold it somewhere else. But we're going to sell that one, and then it's going to drop down by 4, and we're going to sell it again, going to sell it again, and we know that every 4 of those items, are going to sell at a profit. So I can't remember exactly what the figure was before. It was 400 and something. We know already just by memory that that's more. We have 531. So we have made a profit on that already. And as you can see, the fish is in the red, quite a light red. So I think we bought it for 9, maybe 9, 10. And it's going to sell for 8. So we're going to lose out money if we try to sell that. But we're not trying to sell that. We want to keep that. So there we go. If we sell that, we go ahead and make a nice little bit of profit. Not too much profit, but as you can see, we've nearly leveled up our trade and we have barely sold that many items. So had I bought a lot more of them and taken a risk and emptied my wallet out to buy a hell of a lot more, I probably would have leveled up my trade skill by now. And also if I had it maxed out. Now you get obviously loads of different perks along this tree that can increase what your workshops, your caravans and your trade penalties. A lot of them also head towards more of the being a governor of a town, so your taxes and tariffs. Only the sort of first few really impact your early game trade, but I'd say this first perk's the most important one because it just does everything automatically for you, and it just simplifies it hugely and just makes it a really easy experience. You just look, okay, that's green, and then you sell it off, and if it's red, don't sell it. If it's green, sell it, and it just makes it a very, very easy experience. And you know that you can obviously make a profit or not make a profit, and it's just, yeah, getting that first perk is the most important part to trading, and it just makes it so much easier. We're not going to go into caravans or workshops. That's going to be a whole different video. But yeah, essentially this is how easy it is to trade. So you just come in here and obviously you click on the MISC up here. You can do it in all items and scroll down. You've got your things here, but it's so much easier. Just click on MISC and you get all of your trade good items here. Now, as you can see, it doesn't tell us green or red here. That's because it's got nothing to compare it to. And also, if you loot and raid caravans or take down bandit parties, the trade good items that they give you won't be highlighted in a colour, and that's because you didn't buy them, so it can't tell you if it's going to be a profit or not, because you're not actually making a profit. Selling that whole item is your profit because you've got it for free. So it will only do it with items that you've purchased from a town. So yeah, you can also obviously do this by memory. You can also have like maybe a little notebook and just jot down, okay, so at Sonala I bought hides for 62, or you could say I bought 20 hides for however much money, maybe 1,000 dinars, obviously not that much, terrible maths there, but you know, you can get an idea, and then you can say, oh, and I sold them and made a 500 dinar profit at, we'll go Dynastica. So you can get an idea, okay, so I know that if I'm heading down to the Azari territory and I head into Sonala, I can pick up hides and then on the way back sell them at Dynastica, and that's already 500 dinars profit. Now what else could I pick up and sell along the way? Oh, I know that iron ore I can buy for 37 at Sonala, and I can sell that at Kiaz maybe, or where we've just come from, and make 200 dinars profit. And you can get an idea and build up sort of your own little tally and timetable of places to go and what to get. But that's if you want to take it really seriously, which you can do. And obviously, the bigger you build up your party, the more items you can get, the more money you can make, and so on and so on. So it's a gradual build up, and it's just this very small ladder. You take each step, and then you can get more items, sell more items, get more items, sell more items, and it just builds up over time. But trading is very simple, very, very simple. You can do it with cattle as well, horses, and you can do it obviously with equipment as well, but that's a lot harder to do. You can also do it with food as well. You can even go and sell these at villages. You won't get a profit from any other trade goods other than food at villages, especially because villages don't have that much money to buy them either. But you can do it with food. You can buy things straight from the source as well. That's probably the last thing I'll cover, just to try and keep this as quick as possible. So if you go to a village, say, so these both are food. I don't think we're going to find one nearby that does any other actual like raw material trade goods, because the Azerite is a lot of just kind of food, grain and dates. So we've got silver ore here, so I reckon if we went there and had a look at the silver ore, the price would be a lot cheaper than if I was to buy silver ore at Sonala. It's not always the case. Sometimes it can be more expensive, but it's just most of the time, most of the villages that you come to, the raw goods will be cheaper from the source. Now, it doesn't actually give us any information about it. That probably tells me that it's quite a neutral price and that I'm not going to get it for much. But as you can already see here, selling off my mules and fish, I'm getting a huge loss on those. So like I said, it's not a good idea to sell to villages, but it can be a good idea to buy from villages, because they can be a lot cheaper. So if we go ahead and we buy these silver ores, I think they're actually a lot more expensive. Not entirely sure, but it could be quite expensive to sell them off at Sonala, sorry. Whereas if I bought them from there and sold them off at Zionica maybe, I might make a huge profit there. Just because that village is nearby, it probably means that I'm not going to make a profit from selling them here. I probably have to travel a lot further. Because Sonala might be getting that from that village. It might be getting their silver ore from that village. So it might mean, yeah, they've probably already got quite a decent supply. Yeah, as you can see. So that village is most likely supplying this place. So I wouldn't be able to sell that for very much here. But yeah, that's essentially how easy it is to trade in this game. I think I've covered everything about it. I said if you obviously want to improve your carrying capacity, get those mules. If you want to improve your speed, get more just general horses. And that will make you move quicker along the map. Also keep your party size small and low tiered, and that will keep your costs down as much as possible. And when you sort of hit about 15,000 dinars, I'd suggest getting either a caravan or a workshop, just so that you can always cover your food costs and your wages. So that way you're only ever making a profit. So it's one of the first things you kind of want to aim towards and get that done as soon as possible. But otherwise, yeah, you can make loads of money from trading very quickly and obviously build up your skills along the way as well. And obviously if you're choosing Azurai as your starting culture, you'll get that, I think it's 10%, maybe more, of a bonus to trade penalty. So buying things won't cost as much as if you were part of a different culture. So you have that on your side automatically as well. Especially in the sandbox mode, you can pump and probably boost your trade skill to about 50 before the game's even started. So yeah, if you do want to go down the caravan route, it's a very good way to go. And obviously every different faction has their different trade goods. So if you were in Sturgia, probably getting furs and leathers would be incredibly cheap. And then if you went somewhere, say like the Southern Empire or the Azurai, you'd probably sell them for a lot of money because it's a lot harder to get those items in those territories. And you can get an idea of sort of what items are cheap for what culture. So I think for Botania, things like pottery, which are quite a high-end luxury good, I think that's very cheap in Botania. So if you could go to Botania and pick up lots of pottery, you could sell them to most other factions for a profit. And it's just kind of figuring out what you want to get and where you want to sell it, and what factions produce the most of what trade goods. Like the Khuzaits as well, one of theirs would be wool. They produce a hell of a lot of wool. So you can buy a lot of wool from them and then sell it off at different factions as well. And make a lot of money from that. So it's just about building up your knowledge of what trade goods to get and where to sell them. And over time that builds up, and obviously it tells you with the skills as well what you're making a profit on. But otherwise, guys, yeah, I hope this has helped. Tried to update it and just improve the quality of the video, so I hope this has made it a little bit easier to understand, a little bit easier to follow. I hope I haven't made it too long. But yeah, otherwise, guys, I hope this has helped. I hope you've enjoyed this one. I hope this has covered a few points for you and made trading that little bit easier. I'll try and cover a lot of the other aspects of the game as well, like workshops and caravans, and I'll go through that and explain the trade skill in a little bit more depth. But that is all I have to say for today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you've got any comments, or you feel like I've missed something out, or if you've got any suggestions or tips, anything like that, if you've got any trading experience that you want to share, please make sure you leave it down in the comments below, or go ahead and join the Discord and put it on the server on there as well, because I'm sure everyone else would love to hear it. So if you do have anything that you know that really works, then come and drop it down below, and hopefully somebody can come along and see that and use that in their own campaign and help them out a little bit. But otherwise, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Please make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. It just majorly supports the channel out and keeps you notified with all the content that's coming out as well. Otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope this has helped. Please let me know if it has, and please let me know if it hasn't. And like I said, if you feel I've missed anything, please let me know, because I've obviously not done it on purpose, and it remind me and help me remember these things for the future as well. But otherwise, guys, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one. Goodbye.